If you've heard of the show I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant, you've probably wondered how exactly this could be possible. After all, pregnancy is generally very obvious. A baby bump, not getting a monthly period, morning sickness. How could you not realize? Well, for some women, pregnancy isn't obvious at all. Their pregnancy hormones are very low, making their symptoms nearly impossible to notice. Even if they do happen to take a test, they may get a false negative result. This condition is known as a cryptic or stealth pregnancy, and many women who experience this may not even know they're pregnant until they go into labor. It's also more common than you may expect. It's reported that 1 in every 475 pregnancies are cryptic. What I've just outlined for you is the medical definition of cryptic pregnancy. However, there's another type of cryptic pregnancies that don't align with this definition. Women who claim to be experiencing these so-called cryptic pregnancies firmly believe they're pregnant, even when a doctor tells them that there's no evidence of a baby. In medical terms, this is generally referred to as a phantom pregnancy or pseudocyesis. It can be defined as a false belief of being pregnant that's associated with objective signs and reported symptoms of pregnancy. This may include symptoms like abdominal enlargement, the subjective sensation of fetal movement, and labor pains at the expected date of delivery. However, many online support groups claim that what these women are experiencing is real and not in their heads. One prominent example is the Gilmour Foundation, whose own definition of a cryptic pregnancy is very different from the medical definition. They state that a cryptic pregnancy is a pregnancy where there is no detectable HCG in the mother's system due to a hormonal imbalance, resulting in an extremely long gestation period that is typically 3 to 5 years. Both urine and blood pregnancy tests will be negative during a cryptic pregnancy. If the mother has a uterine abnormality, her ultrasounds will also be negative. Due to the nature of cryptic pregnancy, many women do not realize that they're pregnant until delivery, but many are very aware that they are indeed pregnant. People who believe that these extended gestation pregnancies are real also have some alternative theories as to why it occurs. These include alien interference, the birth of gods, or engaging in oral sex and becoming pregnant via your stomach. For the purposes of this video, I'll be referring to these phantom pregnancies as cryptic pregnancy. In 2018, the Dr. Phil show featured an episode on cryptic pregnancy. In this episode, Dr. Phil meets with 2 women who claim that they're experiencing cryptic pregnancies and have been for years. The first is a woman named Zona, who claims that she's been pregnant for over 3 years despite having her tubes tied 20 years earlier. Dr. Phil begins the interview by trying to outline the medical definition of a cryptic pregnancy to her.
Cryptic or denied pregnancy refers to the absence of awareness by a woman that she is pregnant until she delivers her baby, but the gestation is a normal gestation time.
No.
Zona believes that cryptic pregnancies actually last 2 to 7 years, and she references the Gilmour Foundation as her source. We'll come back to this group a little bit later. When she outlines her definition of a cryptic pregnancy to Dr. Phil, she mentions that the growth of the fetuses is extremely stunted, and that's why the gestation period is so long. Her reasoning behind this is that the HCG hormones are very low, causing slow growth.
Now, with the cryptic pregnancy, your HCG levels are so low that the babies don't even get bones until they're 2 to 3 years old in the womb.
Zona says that in her case, she's experiencing the usual pregnancy symptoms but over a long period of time.
My belly has continued to grow for the 3.5 years, but it does grow at super low rates. My breasts are tender, my mood swings are super bad. I could be crying 1 minute, happy the next.
She also says that when she goes to the doctor for a pregnancy test, both blood and urine show a negative result. Zona dismisses this as the doctors being wrong and says that she's 1000% sure that she's pregnant. She says that she can feel heartbeats when she uses a fetal Doppler and that there's movement from the babies, which she believes confirms that she's pregnant. She even offers to let Dr. Phil touch her stomach to feel for himself.
Your belly moves, you say?
Yes, it does. Would you like to feel it?
No.
It moves? No.
Dr. Phil also brings up that Zona's ultrasounds show an empty uterus. In response, Zona explains that the ultrasound machines are apparently too powerful to actually show the fetus.
But you've had ultrasounds, right?
Yes, but due to the ultrasound is a 15 megahertz and on the machines, and normally the Dopplers are like 3 to 5 megahertz. So if it's a too high of a megahertz, sometimes it will not pick up.
She also makes an interesting claim regarding her anatomy.
We can agree that the ultrasound shows an empty uterus.
Well, when you have more than one uterus, yes, it might show an empty uterus, but I have more than one uterus. So,
But the uterus that has been scanned is empty.
okay.
According to Zona, her second uterus is in the back of her body and it's called a retroinverted uterus. When Dr. Phil asks why she hasn't gotten that one scanned, she starts to say, "Because no one believes me," before stopping herself and just saying that he should ask the medical field that. Having two uteruses isn't impossible and it occurs in about 1 in every 2,000 women. However, the OBGYN who examined Zona for the show said that her anatomy is completely normal and she doesn't have any extra reproductive organs. And not only does Zona claim to have two uteruses, but she also says that she's pregnant with 6 babies in the back uterus.
What I'm saying is real. I know 1,000% I am giving birth to multiples. I think I'm carrying 6 babies.
You'll notice that she was smoking throughout that clip, which is obviously not recommended while you're pregnant. Zona determined that she was having sextuplets using her at-home fetal Doppler that I mentioned previously. The OBGYN on the show explains why a fetal Doppler isn't a reliable way of determining pregnancy, and that if you use it anywhere on the abdominal area, you'll hear a heartbeat.
So, first of all, you can, even if you carry one baby, I can put that Doppler anywhere in the abdominal area and I would pick up a heartbeat.
The OBGYN also says that when Zona was asked to produce the same heartbeat results using her own Doppler at the examination, there weren't any. Zona refutes this and claims that she heard 3.
There it is. I barely hear it.
But I don't hear it. That's why I'm trying to check.
I know. There's babies in here.
Zona eventually goes on to mention that she was told by doctors that she has stage 4 bladder cancer. She says that she hasn't done anything about it because she doesn't have health insurance.
I'm also concerned with my medical. Is there something else going on? Because I have heard that I have stage 4 bladder cancer.
While Dr. Phil expresses concern about this, Zona doesn't seem to be that worried.
I certainly hope that's not true.
If it is, it is.
Because I want you to be
I got
healthy
bad.
and return to health.
Despite her rather nonchalant reaction, stage 4 bladder cancer is extremely serious. Surviving at this advanced stage usually requires a person to undergo chemotherapy or radiation treatment, as well as take immunotherapy drugs. There's also another woman named Shayna on the episode who claims to be experiencing a cryptic pregnancy. She's in a very similar situation to Zona, where all her test results come back negative, but she's still adamant that she's pregnant.
I've been pregnant for over a year. I've been to a lot of doctors, hospitals. I've gotten urine tests, blood tests, and ultrasounds. When the results come back, they come back negative. I don't believe them.
She believes that the tests are negative because she's had 3 C-sections. However, she did have one positive test, which was a bleach and urine test. To perform this test, you pour bleach in your urine. If it begins to foam and overflow from the cup, that would mean that you're pregnant. As you can imagine, there's no scientific basis for this test. Shayna's family initially didn't believe that she was pregnant, but her daughters were convinced by seeing her growing stomach and hearing the heartbeats during her at-home fetal Doppler testing. On the other hand, Zona says that her family still doesn't believe that she's pregnant, which has caused a lot of strain and made her feel miserable. She says that she just wants to give birth and is so sick of being pregnant. Her daughter believes that she's doing it for attention.
I am sick and tired of being pregnant. I just want them out. I'm done with this. I'm done with pregnancy. I don't want it anymore. I'm done.
Okay.
During the examination with the OBGYN on the show, Shayna's pregnancy tests all showed a negative result. However, her hemoglobin A1C, which shows a person's average blood sugar levels over a period of 3 months, was very elevated. She was 0.1 away from being diabetic, and this is why her stomach has gotten bigger. The OBGYN also explains that Shayna has polycystic ovarian syndrome, which leads to insulin resistance and elevated testosterone levels. This would explain both her weight gain and her missed periods. Shayna dismisses this and says that she doesn't think the OBGYN tried hard enough to look for a baby. Zona's response is similar. She doesn't think the OBGYN did a thorough enough job, and she remains 1000% sure that she's pregnant with multiples. You might be wondering why these women continue to ignore all of the medical evidence that they're not pregnant. As Dr. Phil says on the show, this seems like a clear-cut case of confirmation bias. If you're unfamiliar with the term, confirmation bias refers to the tendency to process information by looking for or interpreting information that's consistent with one's existing beliefs. This biased approach to decision-making is largely unintentional and often results in ignoring inconsistent information. Ultimately, Shayna does actually admit that this could be possible, but Zona completely denies it because of what she's heard on her field Doppler. Obviously, this is exactly what Dr. Phil was talking about because she has tons of evidence that shows she's not pregnant, but she's clinging to the one thing that she believes proves that she is. It's a truly frustrating episode to watch. But what's worse is that these two women aren't the only ones who think that they've been pregnant for years. Numerous online support groups exist for women who believe that they're experiencing cryptic pregnancies, and some even have thousands of members. The women in these groups are very similar to those in the Dr. Phil episode. They share their cryptic pregnancy journeys by posting photos of the progression of what they call their baby bump, use fetal Doppler results as being solid evidence of pregnancy, and ask for advice from others. Just a brief look into these groups will take you down quite the rabbit hole of outrageous takes. For example, we have this post where someone claims to have delivered a cryptic pregnancy where the DNA of the baby doesn't match that of the father who she's currently with. Any logical person would conclude that she cheated on him. But this poster claims that the woman was simply cryptically pregnant for years with the baby of a previous partner. How very convenient. There's so much outlandish content to cover in all of these groups, so I'd like to focus on the one run by Zona from the episode. In this group, she and the other members share what they refer to as their pregnancy journey and complain about their unsupportive family and friends, or issues within the medical field. Here's one post where a woman who's seeking advice from others pastes a message from her boyfriend. The boyfriend says that he's frustrated with her lying to him about being pregnant for over 3 years and he's trying to get her to take an ultrasound. The majority of the comments say that she should dump him because he clearly doesn't respect or believe her. She has another post mentioning that she isn't able to talk about her pregnancy with any of her family and friends because they also don't believe her. Another common theme in these groups is the distrust for the medical system. Many of these women completely forgo seeing a doctor about their supposed pregnancy because they already know the doctor will tell them that there's no baby. The general attitude about doctors in these groups is that they're either liars, bullies, or incompetent. Here's a comment from the same woman mentioned earlier whose boyfriend begged her to get an ultrasound. She says, "I don't want to go to doctors after learning how we're going to be treated. I don't want to go get an ultrasound and be told there's no baby inside of you, you're not pregnant, or do a video where people are being mean and bullying me and my children." Some others also believe that the medical system doesn't have advanced enough equipment to deal with the phenomenon of cryptic pregnancies, and that's why they can't see their baby on ultrasounds and all of the tests are negative. This is apparently because machines are man-made, but babies are from God. One example of this is Zona's claim that the ultrasound machines are too powerful to pick up on a fetus. However, they all seem to trust the fetal Doppler despite it also being a man-made machine. As mentioned earlier, it's not a good piece of equipment to confirm pregnancy because you can hear many noises inside the body, not just a baby's heartbeat. What's especially common is someone mistaking their own heartbeat for that of a fetus. Zona herself posts frequently in this group. She claims that her cryptic pregnancy has been ongoing for 7 years now. She also now says that she's pregnant with 9 babies. This is quite the jump from her claim of 6 babies on Dr. Phil. I couldn't find any comments from her on why there are suddenly 3 new fetuses, but it seems like she's decided this upon hearing more heartbeats while using her Doppler. She's also still claiming to have extra reproductive organs, but now she says that she has 4 vaginas and 3 uteruses. I also couldn't find any comments explaining why she suddenly has more reproductive organs now or how they were missed previously. And again, I'd like to mention that the OBGYN who examined Zona said that there were no abnormalities in her anatomy. Zona's still incredibly frustrated that doctors don't recognize her claimed pregnancy, and she too discusses her mistrust of doctors. In one screenshot from May of 2020, she says that they're rude people who misdiagnosed her. Interestingly, she says here that she was never told about her cancer. This is strange, seeing as she mentioned it on Dr. Phil in 2018. Zona was also dropped by her primary care provider in 2019. The notes here say that she has advanced kidney/bladder cancer, and the doctor mentions that she's delusional about being pregnant. In the comments on her post about this incident, Zona claims that the doctors didn't tell her about her cancer and they took out information while talking behind her back. I'm not really sure what she means by this, seeing as her cancer diagnosis is written clearly on the paper, and again, she mentioned it while she was on Dr. Phil a year before this post. She also goes on to say that her babies are what's keeping her alive. In these comments, Zona says that she won't seek treatment because she can't while she's pregnant. This seems to contradict with a post she made in May of 2020, where she says that she's seeing a cancer doctor now. Apparently, she takes no medication for her stage 4 cancer other than marijuana. I tried to see if she made a more detailed post about her cancer and how she's dealing with it treatment-wise, but I couldn't find much. There was one exchange where someone asked why she's seeing a cancer doctor. Zona replied, "Doctors lie to me. They choose not to tell me so they don't give me an option. They put me in mental institution. They want me dead. They are amazed that I am still living and doing good. God, my doctor, he's honest and don't lie to me." Her condition is unclear. While she made several posts mentioning that her cancer is terminal and she's very ill, there's also this one from 2019 where she says she was sick but now she's doing better. But then she goes on to say that the cancer is spreading. She follows this grim statement up with excitement over apparently hearing a fetus giggle while in her womb. There's another post from 2020 where Zona says that her health is great. I'm really not sure what to think with regards to her cancer because it doesn't seem like she's being treated and she goes back and forth on what condition she's in. All I can really say is that I hope she is seeking treatment. From Zona's post, it's pretty obvious that not much has changed in the past few years. Her thoughts and feelings are pretty much the same as what we saw in the Dr. Phil episode, although she did mention a few new reproductive organs and she suddenly has 3 new fetuses. It's really sad to see that she's still stuck in her delusions. This is where I'll end my exploration of Zona's Facebook group. As I mentioned, there are several other groups, but I won't be digging into them in this video because they all share very similar beliefs. But the cryptic pregnancy community isn't just confined to Facebook. There are also numerous women on YouTube who post videos sharing their cryptic pregnancy journeys. We'll take a look at a few channels. To start, here's the channel Rhonda's Cryptic Pregnancy.
Hi everyone, my name is Rhonda. I'm here today to share with you my secret journey. I am having a special pregnancy called a cryptic pregnancy.
In this video, Rhonda explains that she wasn't trying to conceive, but due to experiencing several stressful events which she said imbalanced her hormones, she became cryptically pregnant in 2018. She was 44 years old at the time. She says that the symptoms started with feeling nauseated, eating more than usual, and exhaustion. Her pregnancy test came back negative the first time she tried, but she waited a little longer and got a positive result. She continued to get her period shortly after taking the test, but says that it was lighter than usual. She chalked this up to a miscarriage. A few months later, she said that she felt pregnant again because she was feeling very nauseous and tired. About a month later, she notes that she's still feeling bloated and missed a period again. She does mention that she's diagnosed with Asherman syndrome, which is a rare uterus condition that results in few or no periods. She continues on to say that due to the missed periods and other symptoms, she went to the doctor to get a blood test for pregnancy, which came back negative. She remains convinced that she's pregnant up until her most recent video, despite the lack of medical evidence. In another video, she mentions that she believes she's pregnant with twins and she's feeling drained despite being healthy.
Diet, my lifestyle is really healthy. I'm very health focused. But 50 pounds of extra weight on you with 2 slow growing fetuses zapping you of everything, it doesn't matter how good you eat, how much rest you get. It's draining. It's straight draining.
Next, Diana from the channel Joyful in Hope shares a similar story to many others that we've seen so far.
Hi guys. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Diana. I'm here to talk about something pretty controversial, cryptic pregnancy, specifically extended gestation.
She says that in 2016, she had a dream where God spoke to her and she and her best friend were pregnant. She thought this was hilarious because both of their husbands already had vasectomies. A little while later, she said that she threw up her morning coffee and then began throwing up every day. Diana took a pregnancy test, but it was negative. She said that she would randomly start bleeding and leaking milk, but all her tests continued to be negative for several months. However, she also claims to have gotten a few faint positives.
And you can see the lines if you're looking at them in person. They're basically the same as what I would have gotten within a couple weeks of getting pregnant normally. And then this one from Monday is actually completely negative.
Diana was eventually sure that she was pregnant and she went online to research what was going on. This is when she stumbled on cryptic pregnancy communities and she was convinced that this is what she was experiencing.
So then I didn't know what to do. I started doing a lot of research online, trying to figure out what was going on or find anyone that had gone through a similar experience. And that's when I found out about cryptic pregnancy. And then I found a cryptic pregnancy group on Facebook, and I learned so much more about what was going on with me. And I learned that, you know, most women with this type of pregnancy don't give birth at 40 weeks.
One interesting thing I noticed is that Diana doesn't seem to completely distrust doctors. While she does encourage the use of a Doppler to confirm pregnancy and says that the medical field doesn't understand cryptic pregnancies, she also recommends that women who think they're cryptically pregnant should see a doctor. As of now, she's apparently been pregnant for 3 years. Like Rhonda, she thinks that she's having twins.
I think that I'm having 2 girls based on dreams and prophecies and everything that I've heard from the Lord.
The last channel I'd like to discuss is called Family Tribe Vlogs, and it's very different from the others I've mentioned. It's run by a woman named Crystal who was briefly featured in the Dr. Phil episode. In 2016, Crystal thought that she was experiencing cryptic pregnancy, but eventually realized she wasn't pregnant. She has a video where she talks about her own experience. Here, she explains that she had many signs and symptoms similar to other women who claimed to have cryptic pregnancy. However, in Crystal's case, when she got negative results, she realized that the doctors have no reason to lie to her about the pregnancy.
In 2016, I thought I was experiencing a cryptic pregnancy. I thought I was testing negative in both my urine and my blood. And when I went in for my ultrasound at what I thought was 18 to 20 weeks pregnant, my ultrasound was negative. I could not find a reason, a logical reason, that this ultrasound would be negative if the baby was actually 18 to 20 weeks along, because that's a very large baby, and it's very unlikely and uncommon for that large of a baby to be overlooked or overseen or not seen at all.
She now dedicates her time to her Facebook group called Uncensored Truth About Cryptic and Phantom Pregnancy Education Support, where people discuss the harmful myths about cryptic pregnancy and they try to educate women who think they may be experiencing it. She also has a lot of videos on her channel to dispel common myths. One example is this video where she shows how a fetal Doppler amplifies all sound coming from one's body, which is what Zona and many others have misinterpreted to mean that they're hearing a baby's heartbeat.
Those are my bowels. My bowels moving around because I did eat only an hour or 2 ago. And just to let you guys know, your bowels are never quiet. And if your bowels are quiet, then something is wrong. Your bowels are always digesting, always moving, just not super intensely all the time. But there is always some kind of movement and always some kind of gas or air or feces or liquid moving through your bowels.
There's also a similar video where she's pregnant and she shows the difference between a fetus's heartbeat and normal and unrelated noises from inside the body.
If I point the probe up towards my ribs, get a lot of intestinal sounds, more higher up. But that's my stomach. That's what the probe is. That's what you're hearing. Now let's go to where we know baby girl is. Having a contraction right now.
I wanted to mention this channel because I think it's important to recognize that not all of the women who think that they're having a cryptic pregnancy remain stuck in their delusion for years. It seems like the only thing that can change their mind is understanding that their doctors aren't lying to them or being negligent. If you happen to be watching this because you know someone who thinks that they're having a cryptic pregnancy, Crystal's channel and Facebook group are great for debunking misinformation. She herself was able to realize that what she thought was a cryptic pregnancy was a phantom pregnancy, and now she puts a lot of effort into trying to help other women understand this themselves. I think what Crystal's doing is really admirable, and I'll leave her links down below. At this point, I'd like to circle back to the Gilmour Foundation that I've mentioned a few times in this video. It's run by a woman named Suzanne Huntley. The Gilmour Foundation claims to be a support group that aids cryptically pregnant women and has done so since 2013. They claim to provide correct knowledge about cryptic pregnancy that the medical system doesn't provide, and they urge anyone who believes that they might be experiencing a cryptic pregnancy to contact them. Many of these women use their site as a source, but the information they provide is inaccurate and often has no medical evidence behind it. Their description of symptoms is extremely generic, and many on the list are common symptoms of countless other health issues, like bloating or appetite changes. To me, it just seems like their goal here is to make the symptoms seem applicable to almost anyone. I'm by no means a doctor with the ability to diagnose anyone, but I think it's evident that the women claiming to experience these cryptic pregnancies are vulnerable, and they may be suffering with some sort of underlying mental illness. Many also may have suffered a miscarriage or are dealing with infertility issues, which could lead to them holding on to the idea of being cryptically pregnant and ignoring what doctors are telling them. Cults target vulnerable people, and while this isn't the same thing as Jonestown-style cults, it is very cult-like in that it's clear that the individuals who believe that they're cryptically pregnant seek to convince others that they too are pregnant. One such example occurs here. This woman has a moment of clarity and says that she's done believing that this is real. She spent 3 years believing that she's cryptically pregnant and she's finally giving up on it. In the replies, one commenter tries her best to convince her that she's indeed cryptically pregnant. This seems to have worked, as the original poster makes later posts regarding her supposed pregnancy and saying that she's indeed pregnant, and that anyone who says otherwise is a troll or a bully. This crab mentality is extremely detrimental to women who believe that they're cryptically pregnant, as any self-awareness that the pregnancy isn't real is met with others undermining them or trying their best to change their mind. Anyone who tries to point out that their claims of cryptic pregnancies with extended gestations are impossible is accused of cyberbullying and gaslighting. They're also accused of being a part of the phantom pregnancy cult, which just means that they associate the term cryptic pregnancy with its medically recognized definition. These women advise others not to associate with or listen to anyone who's part of the phantom pregnancy cult, through statements such as, "Don't neglect what your body is telling you, and please don't let phantom pregnancy advocates diagnose you. They do not care about you when they are telling you that it's in your head. It's very dangerous to tell women that the very real physical symptoms are due to a mental health problem. Anyone online who attempts to convince you that you're having a phantom pregnancy does not care about you." This even occurs in groups that exist to stop misinformation about cryptic pregnancies and try to help women who are experiencing this delusion. In Crystal's Facebook group, many women leave comments seeking support because they're worried that they might be experiencing a cryptic pregnancy. While most members try and encourage them to see a doctor or explain the facts of pregnancy to them, others try and convince them that they are in fact pregnant and say that they know their body better than others. There's also a strong religious aspect to many of these comments. Another example can be seen in the comments of this video. Here, a woman shows how simple it is to make your stomach look like a pregnant belly. The comments on this post are particularly egregious. One commenter continuously tries to convince the woman who uploaded the video that she's actually pregnant. When the original poster says that she doesn't even have a uterus or eggs, the commenter retorts that it could be an abdominal pregnancy, and then goes on to show pictures of her own ultrasounds to prove that she's pregnant. This woman in particular has a habit of trying to convince others that they are or were cryptically pregnant, and posts about cryptic pregnancy frequently on her page. It's clear that, like many of the others I've discussed today, her delusion runs very deep. Another example of someone trying to convince a woman who didn't even believe she was cryptically pregnant can be seen in these screenshots. Here, someone explains how she was told that she never miscarried and was actually cryptically pregnant. The so-called expert mentioned in these screenshots is Suzanne Huntley of the Gilmour Foundation. Numerous women have documented her expert advice after contacting her, saying that she pushed them into believing that they were experiencing cryptic pregnancy. In this woman's case, she was told that her miscarriages were all part of one cryptic pregnancy that was trying to become typical. This is a particularly cruel example of a vulnerable person being targeted, because this woman had experienced several miscarriages and felt like she was reliving her loss. While she didn't believe what she was told by Suzanne, someone else in her position may have been compelled to hold on to the idea that she'd never experienced a miscarriage because it was more comforting. Here's another post discussing Suzanne. She claimed that she was helping a woman who was pregnant for 3 years and 5 months, but her baby was only 18 weeks along. According to Suzanne, this is evidence that the cryptic pregnancy turned normal. Realistically, it's obvious that the woman wasn't actually pregnant for all those years and she was just experiencing a normal pregnancy now. The Gilmour Foundation encourages women who reach out to them to continue believing that they're pregnant and will be for at least 5 years. They claim that they're the experts on cryptic pregnancy, but it seems like the only support that they offer is trying to convince anyone they can that they're pregnant. There's also a crossover between the anti-vax community and these cryptic pregnancy groups. Some people actually believe that there's an anti-HCG vaccine that's secretly been put into other vaccines and birth control to try and control the population. The person in this screenshot, who says that they've done a lot of research on these sneaky anti-HCG vaccines, believes that this is the cause of cryptic pregnancy. This theory is on par with the people who think that these cryptic pregnancies are actually the birth of aliens or gods. By now it's clear that believing that you're cryptically pregnant can be detrimental to your health. To go back to the Dr. Phil episode, we had Zona, who claimed to have stage 4 cancer, and Shayna, who had PCOS and was close to becoming diabetic. And yet, both were far more concerned with their years-long pregnancies, and they barely considered the detrimental effects of their real health conditions. Even now, Zona brushes off questions about her cancer to talk about her supposed pregnancy. Here's yet another example where someone is commenting on a cryptic pregnancy YouTube channel. They say that their granddaughter, who had a learning disability, was encouraged to believe that she was cryptically pregnant when she actually had ovarian cancer. She was given 16 days to live at the time of the comment. I think it's clear that the cult-like mentality of these cryptic pregnancy groups is extremely harmful and it can have devastating consequences. It's also clear that many people are trying to profit off these women. There are countless posts from healers who capitalize off all of the distrust of the medical system inherent to these groups to promote their products. One example is this post from a woman who claims to be a traditional midwife and healer and says that she's had 2 cryptic pregnancies herself. She promotes her product by saying that it'll aid with cryptic pregnancies by reducing inflammation and boosting your immune system. The ingredients are listed as glycerin, linden extract, filtered water, wild-crafted pokeberry extract, vodka, none of which have any scientific evidence showing benefits to one's immune system. She does add a disclaimer at the end saying that you should consult a physician before use. But with the commonly held belief being that doctors are misinformed or purposely lying, I don't think that most women who believe they're cryptically pregnant would bother checking with their physician before buying this product. I decided to look a little farther into this traditional midwife and saw that she has a website. Here, she claims to be a practitioner of applied kinesiology, which is described as a method of testing and asking the body yes or no questions by tapping into the energy field and using the energy network, meridians and nervous systems, throughout the practitioner and patient's bodies, to access the body's answers through the muscular system. Apparently, this can even be done remotely. While she claims that applied kinesiology is time-tested and very accurate, in actuality, it's described as being pseudoscientific and useless for diagnosing medical conditions. A big focus of her site is her traditional midwife services, which are also open to women claiming to be cryptically pregnant. She's adamant that she's not only experienced cryptic pregnancy herself, but also witnessed other women being pregnant for 18+ months. This is apparently why she's so dedicated to offering her support to those cryptically pregnant women. She's even taking donations for her Soul Child Midwifery project. The stated goal of this project is for her to provide support to cryptically pregnant women by traveling to them and giving them woman-to-woman connection and support. Unfortunately, this is just one of many examples of someone selling pseudoscientific services online as a way of taking advantage of misinformed people. But this isn't even the most harmful practice that targets these women. This post by the Gilmour Foundation discusses a cryptic pregnancy scam run by Dorcas Ministries in Africa. This scam allegedly targets women who are having trouble conceiving by promising that they'll force a cryptic pregnancy and be given a medication to supposedly speed up the process so that the baby will be born in 9 to 12 months. In actuality, the medicine just bloats her abdomen, leading to the look of a baby bump. When she's due for delivery, she's given a sleeping drug and she wakes up next to a baby. The baby is of course not hers, and it's actually from the adoption agency that Dorcas Ministries also runs. Again, this obviously isn't a legitimate agency. The babies are actually a result of human trafficking and forced pregnancies in baby factories. This isn't the only scam of its kind, and unfortunately it won't be the last. Here's a clip from a video where a woman from Nigeria discusses these cryptic pregnancy scams.
And so what these people are doing is that they are running underground baby factories, getting baby from all manner of illegal means, stealing babies, kidnapping babies, doing all what's not just to make those babies available. And when your baby is available, they will call you to come to their clinic for delivery. They will just knock you out so that you will not be aware of what is happening in their delivery room, and you wake up with that baby in your hand.
Recently, several people involved in another cryptic pregnancy scam in Nigeria were arrested. Their offenses included cultism, armed robbery and kidnapping, rape, child theft, and trafficking. The woman who reported the scam to the police did so because she was knocked unconscious with drugs and woke up to be told that she'd birthed a baby which looked at least a week old. Sadly, these cryptic pregnancy scams are only becoming more common in Nigeria. In this series of tweets from a Nigerian doctor, he discusses an experience with a woman who claimed to be cryptically pregnant. She told him that she'd wanted to conceive, so she saw a woman who got her cryptically pregnant, and that many other women in their town were doing the same. As you'd expect, she wasn't actually pregnant. She and the other women he examined who claimed to be cryptically pregnant were actually given hormones that caused bloating and cysts to form. This is very dangerous and can have several adverse health outcomes, such as breast cancer or ovarian cancer. I hope I've made it clear how extremely damaging these scams are for everyone involved. If you ever encounter one of these scams, please know that you can report them to both the FBI and the FTC. In conclusion, I'd like to say that cryptic pregnancy, as described by these women, is real, but it isn't real in the way that they think it is. There's no baby in there hiding in the uterus in your back and waiting to come out 10 years later. But it is a real delusion, and it can be extremely dangerous to start thinking like this. Every woman I've seen who claims to be experiencing a multi-year cryptic pregnancy seems to be completely cognitively dissonant. They can dismiss any evidence that they aren't pregnant, such as multiple negative tests, just by saying that they know their body or that they've used a Doppler to hear a heartbeat. What's worse is that their cognitive dissonance grows even stronger when they're presented with facts that make it clear that they aren't pregnant. For example, when a doctor tells them that their ultrasound shows that there's no baby in their uterus, they say that doctors are liars or they didn't try hard enough. So, yes, this type of pregnancy is a real condition, but it isn't a pregnancy, it's a delusion that's fed by misinformation and bias. And it doesn't help that there are groups out there dead set on convincing women that what they're experiencing is real and spreading falsehoods about cryptic pregnancies. If you're someone who thinks that you're experiencing a cryptic pregnancy and you actually watch this video all the way through, please understand that I'm not trying to make fun of you. I really want you to seek medical help and determine if there's an underlying condition that might be giving you these symptoms. Please also take a look at Crystal's channel that I've linked below because she has tons of resources and puts a lot of time into debunking the harmful misinformation that these groups spread. For everyone else, thank you so much for watching. This is a little different from my usual videos, but I really want to talk about it. Please share your thoughts with me in the comment section below, especially if you have any experience with people involved in these groups. If you aren't subscribed but you enjoyed this, please consider becoming a subscriber. I have a lot of interesting content planned and I'd love it if you join me. I'll see you guys next time.